Preston Leinenbach with Otters TV. Pleasure to be joined by Evansville Otters field manager Andy McCauley. Andy, thanks for taking the time to talk with me once again. Unfortunately, the Saints have not gotten as improved or positive as we had hoped since the last time we talked over Zoom.
No, it really hasn't, and it's disappointing. And I know there's not a whole lot of teams playing, but or even MLB playing. But it is nice to reminisce and go back on some of the games that you sent me and relive some of those moments. That's the only thing I think keeping me sane right now. Other than that, and the lawn work I got to do now. Not used to being home in the summer, but thank you for sending me those game casts, and that's been keeping me sane.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. Obviously, as you mentioned last time we talked, more time with the family for you, and like I said, just a lot more free time. Have you picked up any new hobbies or any other activities for your free time?
Well, to be honest, it's funny you mentioned that. Actually, went out and got a fishing license for the first time in probably 25 years. I'm home in the summer and figured get me out of the house and give my wife some peace and quiet. So, yeah, actually got a fishing license, been doing some fishing. I left my golf clubs in Evansville, figuring I'd be back. So the golf game has struggled, but I was giving up on that anyway. That was a losing battle. But took up some fishing, doing a lot of projects around the house, getting ready. Like I said, for baby number 3 coming August 30th. That's the due date. We'll see how what day it comes. But just a lot more time with the kids. The kids are loving it. They don't know what's going on, but they got mom and dad for the whole year, which is rare. But doing what we can to keep our hopes up and spirits up, and like I said, following your game cast has been pretty fun.
Since last time we did talk over Zoom, the league officially announced that there would be no championship season for this year. Some of the teams in the league still playing, I guess you'd say, voluntarily with their own little startup leagues, if you will. And so for you, when that announcement came, your thoughts on it and what that means for the league and hopefully the safety of the players.
Well, it's a delicate dance. Every player, every coach, every manager wants to play. There's no doubt about it. And this is killing us, not to play. Fans. I've had numerous fans, diehard Otter fans, reach out, and they're missing it too. But you got to weigh the risk and the reward, and it just isn't even close. And there are some teams playing, doing some different things, and they're following the protocols, and good for them. And if I'm a player, I'm in a little different category than a player. I mean, as a player, your window of opportunity is small. You only have a couple of quality years where you can put up the numbers and be young enough to make adjustments and still move on. And for them, I feel for them. If they have a chance to play and they think it's safe, and that they're not concerned about contracting or passing it on, then go ahead and play. But for the other guys and for the majority of players, they're not going to get that opportunity this summer. So they got to be sharp for next year and hope we're through all this and clear for next year. And that's got to be the goal for all players. And then the players that are able and willing to play this summer, have at it, and good luck to you. But I'll be following it. Believe me, there's only so much baseball on. But it's individualized to where who you're coming in contact with and what you're going to do on that front. That it's individual per player.
And you kind of mentioned to me before we hopped on here that you had to talk to some of the other managers that and some of the other baseball professionals that you come to network with over the years. And what are some of them saying about the conditions that they're dealing with in their respective leagues, or what they've been up to?
It's interesting because the American Association is running a 16 organized league, the reduced schedule, this, that, and the other. Protocols are in place, masks in the clubhouse, masks on the bus, get tested every third day. If you test positive, you're quarantined. And, it's a lot of hoops to jump through. They're only playing at 3 or 4 sites. I think Chicago now just opened up to be able to play home games. So that's really the only actual league that's running. I mean, Sugar Land's doing something, Somerset's doing something, Florence is doing something, Washington's doing something, but it's a little different than what the American Association. American Association is running an actual league with the 6 teams and running a season. But the attendance isn't there, the atmosphere isn't there, the protocols are there, which takes away from it. So as far as the managers that I talk to, it's a lot more hoops to jump through to just be able to play baseball. For the players, I've talked to Josh Allen, who was an Otter for a lot of times. He's up in St. Paul. And he says, you just try and concentrate on baseball. It's really all you can do. He's one of the lucky few that are playing, that wants to play, that is able to play. And, you got to worry about your numbers and putting up good numbers to be able to move on. But you got a lot of other headaches in the back of your mind. So it's tough. It certainly added a lot to the mix, just going out and playing baseball.
And from an Otter standpoint for you, obviously this time of the year, normally you're worried about maybe starting up that finish line toward the regular season, making the postseason race. But what is the next step from your standpoint in terms of the Otters team? Is it starting to look ahead toward next year, or is it still kind of reeling it back a little bit, or like I said, maybe just starting to think about what the team may look like for next year?
The minute that the season was canceled, we had a staff conference call, and then Bobby and Boots and Max and I, we went through our roster. We don't have to do anything right away. Obviously, we have time, but there was a lot of question marks coming in, guys on the bubble that we were going to see in spring training, that we're looking forward to seeing spring training, and that changes, along with the fact that Major League Baseball is contracting a little bit with the number of teams that they're not going to have, which is going to open up a possibility of potential higher level players coming in. The parameters have to be set, because with the merger, parameters were heightened or lengthened to where older players could play. So we have to make sure that the parameters are in place before we do anything, to see if they're going to extend that extra veteran rule, or we're going to get less on veterans. So there's a lot going on this time, even though we're not playing, and even though our roster was set for a April 29th report date. Now there's a couple things that have to fall into place, but we did discuss, who we definitely want, who are still on the bubble, and guys that we just have to move on from with the number of players that are going to be available next year, next spring.
Obviously, for the independent leagues, a lot of things could change in terms of the roster outlook when Major League Baseball and, of course, now minor league baseball having their season officially canceled. And, of course, now everybody's still kind of waiting for a lot of these minor league organizations to, get the axe, if you will, based on what Major League Baseball has said with their affiliations to a lot of these organizations. So a lot to wait and look forward to come the fall and into next year.
On that point, hopefully, some of these Midwest League teams, New York Penn League teams, Appalachian League teams, are looking to field teams next year, even though they're not affiliated. And hopefully the Frontier League can be in the mix there, not with all of them, obviously, but with maybe one or two, pick up a couple more teams. Could be a really good thing for the Frontier League, the contraction of Major League Baseball. And I just happen to know Binghamton, where I live, happens to be one of the names on the list. But it would take a lot to get me out of Evansville. Really happy there and love going to Bosse every day. Going
all the way back to last October when the initial expansion was talked about, is that this league still wants to grow to even a larger number of teams and have a wider geographical reach, which has certainly achieved that through the expansion. And hopefully we'll get to see, again, that expansion to actually take place on the field next year.
It's got a real opportunity for the Frontier League. It really could be good.
I do want to get your take on the Major League Baseball situation and on a couple things. One, obviously, no fans this year for the time being. I mean, how could you even imagine what that will be like when normally it's 40,000, 50,000 people in those big stadiums, and those guys are playing in front of nobody?
Yeah, I'll be honest though. If you look at not playing baseball or playing baseball in front of nobody, you're going to take playing baseball in front of nobody. And if they stick to the protocols, and there's quite a list of protocols on the Major League level. A good friend of mine, a scout with the Mets, sent me that list of their protocols. The ball gets thrown out after every play, and no seeds, no spitting, no dip, no high fives. I mean, they've really looked at keeping it quarantined, or at least the teams in their bubble, so to speak, that it'll be safe and it'll be effective, and it'll give baseball a chance to be played in 2020, which is going to be exciting and give you something to watch and be able to sit back and have, an abbreviated season, but still a season, which is going to be huge for baseball.
And are you a fan of the universal DH that they're going to have this year?
I'm not a fan of the DH ever, but you can take that for what it's worth. But no, there's going to be different rules in place, and I'll tell you, this almost gives them license to try some of the crazy rules that they broke out in the Atlantic League last year. The longer base paths and heaven forbid the automatic robot strike zone. Some of the different things that they were trying to pitch in the Atlantic League, years ago, with an abbreviated season, you might be able to run with some of these things and see how they like them or how they relate. But no, I'm not a fan of DH, to answer your question. I've never was, never will be. So much strategy has been taken out of baseball with all the new rules and all the home runs, and everybody's playing for a 3-run bomb. The small ball, the bunt, and if you look at our championship, came down to a walk, a base hit, and a base hit up the middle. I mean, it wasn't home runs, and that's the way baseball is supposed to be played. I know I'm old, and I've been around too long, but there's some nuances in baseball that are taken away by the excitement of the home run and the designated hitter. But that's my piece.
And to the point you mentioned with the shortened season, 60 games this year. Of course, if there's a normal season, everybody has written on paper, their expected contenders, the kind of high favorites in Major League Baseball. Of course, last year with the Nationals being the defending champions, but with 60 games, that makes every game count just as much as more. And now, do you expect that there could be some surprising teams that were not expected to be there, but now because of the shortened games that, hey, they have just as much of an opportunity as anybody?
There's no doubt it's going to be a surprise champion this year. If it goes full season, it goes playoffs, whatever. There's going to be a surprise. In 60 games, over 160 games, you get the best, deepest team that takes the field. In 60 games, it's a sprint. In baseball, that's a sprint. Even though 60 games sounds a lot to a lot of people, it really isn't. In 60 games of baseball, anything can happen, and you'll be surprised at who's your champion this year. I would think, because you can just get hot, and you can get hot for 20, 30 games, cool off a little bit, and then get hot for 20, 30, and now you're a World Series champion. So, it's going to be abbreviated. It's going to be, people are going to talk about it. It's going to be a controversial topic, who won the World Series in 2020. But by the same token, at least there's baseball, and at least we get to watch something on TV at night.
Even following that up with the excitement that should come with this being a sprint toward the postseason, you think that could help the game of baseball to get more people to watch, especially the younger generations, which they've been battling to get last few years?
You're going to manage differently. I mean, 60 games, 10 games is 1/6 of your season. And 10 games, you look at that last 10, I mean, they put that stat out there, your last 10 games, what are your last 10? That's 1/6 of your season. It will be a sprint. Every game means, a lot more, almost 3 times more than the regular season. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a sprint baseball, which, could be exciting. It's going to be exciting for the short period of time that it's out there, and you're going to see some good baseball with games meaning a lot. Every game means a lot more than it did a year ago and in the past.
Yeah, should be just an interesting way to hopefully nothing comes up where it would stop the baseball season in its tracks on the track that it's on right now, and hopefully we'll get to at least watch some kind of live sports and live baseball sometime soon. Andy, I appreciate the time, and thanks for joining me.
It's my pleasure, Preston. Talking baseball, I don't get a chance to do it very often. Honestly, I'm on the phone quite a bit talking to other managers that are in my boat and other players, reaching out to Ryan Long and Josh Allen, guys that are playing. And any chance I get to talk baseball, it's been my pleasure.
For Evansville Otters manager Andy McCauley, I'm Preston Leinenbach. This has been Otters TV.